All right, we are back here getting ready for the World Cup starting next week here, and join me today to break it all down. The one of the big soccer guys for 1:37 p.m. You see all of his soccer coverage on Twitter. Martino Puccio is back. Martino, how are you?
Good, Mike. Good. Yeah, just a couple weeks out of the tournament on the 20th. It's super weird. Not used to this kind of weather this time of year. So I mean, it's weird kind of getting hyped up for it. Just I know part of it is because Italy's not in it again, but at the same time, it's still the world's biggest tournament every 4 years, and so much so that people in America get interested that don't know a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last time we did soccer on this podcast, I think you were on. It was episode 5. That's how long ago this was. Back in 2018.
Wow. Was that my first appearance then? I
Yep.
mean, it would
Yep.
have to be.
Yep. It was.
I love that you know that. Um, yeah, the 2018 one. Damn, that feels like yesterday. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think this one will be a better tournament, but it's really, there's so many things that we're obviously going to talk about that I'm interested in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got to start with the obvious one here because obviously, throughout the history of this tournament, it's been a summer tournament, usually in somewhere between June and August, usually June, July in the window here. Because the geniuses at FIFA decided to award this to Qatar, they realized we can't play at 110-degree heat in the middle of the summer, so we have to do this in the winter here. So, how will it change from the summer to the winter impact the tournament? I mean, the northern hemisphere winter.
Well, I think it's interesting for quite a few reasons. I think South American countries maybe they have an advantage at this point. I think it's great to see the contrast because South American countries obviously have different winter than what we deal with over here. Even though the season's actually in the same, they do the calendar year, whereas European football, it's from August all the way to May. So what we have grown to know is that the World Cup is having clubs and players at the end of their season in Europe play right after that. Whereas, maybe there's some other countries that we could talk about that are kind of like Uruguay, for example. A lot of their players obviously play in Europe, but how do other players that don't play, in the Southern Hemisphere, how do they handle all this stuff, right? Like that to me is so fascinating. There's been so many games as well. Like everyone's just thinking like, yes, 2022 World Cup. The difference is summer and winter. Well, the actual real differences before the other World Cups is this: we were dealing with COVID. COVID was a very serious thing in terms of minutes that you'll even see it in the NBA too, right? Like how they crammed in these seasons to get back the money for these leagues because they were suffering so much financially, and that's what's happening in European football. You saw some leagues came back. France was one that didn't at the time because their winter was over with PSG. But you had so many other teams throughout these countries. Have these matches start up really quick again. Yeah, did they have a break from March or right around like March 11th, which is my birthday, by the way? I just remember because the NBA shut down that day with Rudy Gobert. So like everything was pretty much shut down from then. And it went all the way till, basically late June in some places. Bundesliga started earlier, but it's been nonstop soccer/football since then. And then on top of it, all that was condensed and crammed into there where we had a full summer this year, yes. But the difference is this. The first half schedule from where we were playing at the beginning of August, league started earlier in that August timeframe, and they crammed in a bunch of games all up to today. Today was the final Champions League group stage matches, right? Whereas if we go into the Champions League in a normal year, that goes all the way to December. And then there's a ton of other league matches crammed in as well. There's at least 3 for multiple other teams, 2 to 3. So you're talking about all of that football. We've seen players already miss the tournament because of these injuries, right? Because they're cramming their bodies into it. Like France was the repeat winner. They don't have Pogba or N'Golo Kante, and then Matuidi retired. So their entire starting midfield that they thought they would have is now gone. They have some of the best depth, so they'll be okay. But that kind of sums up what we're going to have to deal with. And truth be told, we don't know. There's still players picking up injuries to this very minute. And, that impacts a lot of teams because what have been a 2-week injury is like, okay, we had a 2-week break, but now we need to figure out all this other stuff. Like how soon can you be back? Do you miss the group stage? Is your absence during the group stage that vital to us making it to the knockout stages. And then anything happens in the knockout stage, right? It's one leg, 90 minutes, anything can happen. Obviously, there's extra time penalties, but that's the truth of it all, because certain countries with good players are going to suffer with that. And if that happens, they're not going to be able to survive it like France is. And to me, that's what makes everything such a wild card in this event. So I know that was incredibly long-winded, but that is like where we're at with that. So I hope that explained a lot.
Yeah, definitely picked up a lot of useful information there. And I think, obviously, since this is a American-based podcast here, let's start with Team USA, because obviously they're back in the World Cup for the first time since 2014. They qualified back in March, the third place in the CONCACAF draw. So now they're got grouped in the Group B and the draw here. So how does this squad look in comparison to some of the more recent teams we've had?
Well, this is the youngest one that we've had. Experience is there. A lot of these kids have gone and won the Nations League, which is kind of like a second-rate tournament. But at the same time, they also won the Gold Cup, which is the equivalent of our Euro. It happens all the time. So it's not the craziest of victories, but they have won, and they're very young. So that's something that's very important, in my opinion. We have more players now on the U.S. men's national team squad that have played in Champions League matches. So the amount of players that have played or appeared in a Champions League match is higher than any number that the U.S. has ever had, which, just for example, is we're having guys play at the highest of levels, and they're playing on pretty good teams. So that's great to see. There's still a bunch of injury question marks. Certain players like Christian Pulisic haven't been that great in recent months. He's been struggling, but when they play together at the national team, that third place seemed a little worrying for some. Greg Berhalter is a controversial figure because a lot of people thought that he got the job based off of nepotism. And when his brother was on the board of Team USA, there's so many factors into this that you don't know what you're going to get. There's quality, there's talent. I think that whatever happens in the 90 minutes, we're going to find out about them because we truly don't know at this level. Like you mentioned, we're talking about 8 years ago now. A lot of those players, if any, are gone at this point. And this is a new era for Team USA. I think it's a great precursor for what is going to happen when we host the tournament in 2026. Do I think we're going to be that great? That's it. We'll do that in another 4 years, and we'll talk about this episode. But I think guys like Yunus Musa, who is such a top young talent that I love, like it's going to be X Factor guys like that. We're talking about teenagers, early 20s that are playing in big clubs in Europe. How do they respond to this pressure? And again, this group isn't as easy as some would think, but it's definitely one that they could get out of. It's not ridiculous. If you think we have problems, I mean, English fans will tell you all the drama going on with them. Iran, there's rumors that they're not going to be in the tournament and the Ukraine is going to replace them. I don't believe in that. And then there's obviously Wales with Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, Daniel James. They've been in these tournaments. They made a pretty decent run in the Euros a few years back, but anything goes in the 90 minutes, you know? So I like their chances to get out. I don't think they win the group though, under most circumstances. I'd be kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the group here for a second. They're in Group B, so they're playing their first match is actually on November 21st here. So they have in their group, England was the top team, top team in the pot. They have Iran was the AFC third round Group A winners. They're in here as well, and Wales is one intercontinental playoff to get in here. So in terms of this group, I mean, I've seen some people saying online, "Oh, this is kind of group of death-ish," because I know you said there may not be an actual group of death in this tournament, but what do you think about like this group as a whole?
I don't think group of death is excessive. I think that could have been a biased comment. I'm not sure. I think this group has the ability to be dramatic, incredibly dramatic. In terms of the top quality, I don't think so. England has so many question marks. It's not completely out of the question we draw England. Anyone thinking otherwise, like there is friction there, in my opinion. I think there always is for the American side of things. English always scoff at us. But again, in 2010, they love their chances. They love their team. Even though they had friction again, these are different English sides. They made the Euro final. They lost to Italy. They made it to a semifinal in 2018. Their paths were arguably very easy relative to the amount of competition. But again, you play who you face. That's why you do qualifiers and all that. Iran is very tough defensively. And the issue with Wales is just Gareth Bale being a one-time thing, bang, bang, you're dead. Because this is one of the greatest impact players that has ever played the game. So he's made his impact on some of the biggest matches. He came over here to America, to LAFC. He's a bench player. He's not playing as much as some people would have thought, but I respect players like that. That could, there's players always in this tournament that it's why it's so funny when casuals pick it up that play out of their mind that they never play like. It's a different aura. There's that different vibe. Cinderella's happen in the not in the Champions League, sorry, in March Madness, right? And you could see it happen with this. As far as US goes, everything depends on the number 9, the striker. Seriously does. The number 9 and the center backs. Our goalkeepers are fine. I really do love Turner if they decide to go with him. I have no issues with that. Their fullbacks are pretty talented. Serginho Dest for Team USA level is good. I don't think he's the greatest defender in the world. Anthony Robinson, whose dad is from White Plains, by the way. So fun fact with that. That's not too far from us. He's talented as well, but you could argue they have the worst center back pairing in the group. I think that's certainly possible. And they could also arguably have the worst striker in the group. It's, can you score goals? Obviously. Because you could defend to not lose, but if you don't score, you don't win. And that's as much of a yogiism I could give you today, because that's really the $1 million question. Who scores the goals for Team USA? And if it's Gio Reyna, if it's Pulisic, or if it's even Josh Sargent that gets a chance, or Ricardo Pepi, another player, there's just so many options, and you don't know what's going to happen. And there were ups and downs during qualifiers, but all that matters is you turn up for those 3 games in that group stage. And if you do, then you'll be remembered for a very long time. So I think there's a huge mental aspect to it, and we'll see what they're made of. You never know with these teams, right?
Yeah, you never know. And I think the sequencing of the games, people don't talk about how important this is here. So here's the U.S. sequence right now. They start off the group, remember, 21st. These are all 2 o'clock Eastern starts here. They play Wales first. Then they have the big one, which is the England game on Black Friday, 2 o'clock. It's going to probably be the most highly rated game Fox has in the entire tournament, in my opinion. And then they wrap it up on the 29th against Iran. So does the sequence do the U.S. any favors here, the way these games are ordered?
No, I don't know. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, because everybody's playing the same schedule. It's just it's a different order, but you know what? Everyone's got these quarrels and qualms that you have to overcome in these group stages. Like we talk about it with the Jets all the time. Everyone wants to rag on the Jets for winning games against backup quarterbacks. Well, you know what? We had a guy that looked like a backup quarterback against New England. We had actual backup quarterbacks, and everyone has their issues. It's never just a one-sided thing. But no, I don't. I do think, though, by far, for me, and probably Will would agree with this, someone who watches all the time, having the game against England the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday is just unbelievable. That's so electric. That's so funny. It's the one thing, you could have a PSA about that, telling people not to go out on Black Friday, stay in and watch football. Football could save lives of people who trample over other people, this is how we have to angle it. That's the coolest. That's just a cool one. I don't think anything else matters, though. I just think it's really cool. That's just a side point.
Yeah, that is very fun here. So obviously, before we get into some of the groups here, obviously, you're defending France here. You mentioned at the top they have some injury issues here. What do you think the chances are to repeat? We haven't had a repeat champion in this in a long time.
Yeah, there hasn't been a repeat since Brazil with Pele. Man, listen, I'll tell you what. They have, like I was mentioning earlier, they have the amount of depth that if you were to field their second team, you could argue they could win the World Cup. That's how serious it is. There's certain positions that they didn't have players in. Last time around, Karim Benzema was the Ballon d'Or winner. They rely on him to be the striker. There was a lot of issues with Deschamps. They had Olivier Giroud, so that upgrade is incredible alone. Tchouaméni and Camavinga play for Real Madrid, which is the biggest team in the world for club football, and they just won the Champions League. Camavinga played a part in that. He's replacing Pogba, who has not been good in years, wasn't really much of a factor. for Manchester United and hasn't been a factor for Juventus. N'Golo Kante is going to be a massive one, but they've kind of dealt with him on the decline the past couple of years. So the talent is still there. They still have Antoine Griezmann, Kylian Mbappe, arguably best player in the world, argument over the long haul. Teo Hernandez was their left back. He wasn't with them in these past couple of tournaments. He's unbelievable. He's arguably the best left back in the world. So they have improved in other areas. Saliba is another one who's arguably been the best center back in the world this year too. And he's come out of nowhere. It's truly unbelievable what France has, but they've had letdowns. That letdown in the Euro. This past summer, even though it was in Euro 2021, they were disappointing. Going out against Switzerland was one of the bigger knockout round upsets that you'll see in a very long time for a side that is completely loaded. So you wonder if that comes into question. They did win the Nations League, which is, again, like I said, a second or third rate tournament. But at the same time, that's something you have to hang your hat on, that they still can turn it up. But for me, I think those losses in the midfield, it's certainly a regression. It's just the X factor of how much of a load is Tchouaméni and Camavinga going to be able to handle in this, and will they step up? My answer to that question is yes, but it's not going to be enough to win the World Cup. I think they can make a deep run with it. There's just so many other teams in this competition that can give them a run for their money. I think this is more open than it was in 2018 when I thought it was one of the weaker World Cups. They were clearly head and shoulders above everyone else. I don't think that's going to be the case this time. So I'm a little off on France. So, yeah.
All right, let's go around the other groups here real quick. Quick summary on all these groups. We did Group B already in detail with the U.S. side. So we'll go to Group A, which is the host Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands. Give me the quick lay of the land of them.
I think I love the Netherlands the best. Memphis Depay is still very good. Having Van Gaal back in there. He was there in 2014, I believe it was, in Brazil. He did a really good job. I have them and Senegal. They have Sadio Mane, one of the best players in the world. Ecuador, Qatar. Thanks for coming out, I guess. I mean, Ecuador has some talent. They could get a result in this. Qatar, I mean, listen, host nations, they're going to struggle. I think we're going to see something eerily reminiscent of what happened with South Africa. The quality is just not there overall.
Absolutely. Let's go to Group C here, which I think on its surface, I think has some interesting stuff in here because of Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. This group is like stealthily good.
I think there's a lot of individual quality within this. Argentina head and shoulders above everyone else. They're one of the favorites in this. I do think they win this group. As far as everyone else, I think it's up for grabs. Poland, are they going to be able to service Lewandowski? They have a bunch of like solid players. They have experience. They were disappointing in the Euro. I'm not sure if they turn that around. Mexico, really, really poor in a long time. For the first time in a long time that I've been down on Mexico. But maybe they turn it up a little bit. Despite being their worst in a while, they finished second in the qualifying group in CONCACAF, obviously ahead of the U.S. They still have that ability to turn it up when they need to, but I don't think they have the quality. It's a real big drop-off. I think Argentina and Poland advance out of it.
Absolutely. Group D is where we have a defending champion France this year, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. What are your thoughts on this group?
Wow, this is a sneaky good group. Denmark, I love them. Again, making it to the semifinal without Christian Eriksen when he had that scary cardiac arrest issue on the pitch. He's going to be able to play. I think he's able to make an impact on this. And Denmark's only better, man. To be honest with you, like the amount of quality they have within their side, they're just full-on professionals. It's not so far-fetched if France struggles that Denmark can win the group, but I have them and France advancing. France, just too much quality. Tunisia, really quality, sneaky good side. Maybe they cause some chaos. They could get a result, a draw. Australia, I always respect, but they came through on penalty kicks. It's really just not a side that I see doing too much damage. But again, it's just the World Cup. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you never do. And Group E, I think this one, apart from Group E, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, you got Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. And we all know the big boys are Spain and Germany. And Japan, like people sleep on. Japan always seems to play well in this tournament.
Japan plays well in the tournament often. I do think they're starting, a wave of a new generation. I think it's going to hurt them. Spain was so good. I think this is the interesting one where we see do the minutes affect the younger players like a Pedri, who's one of the best young players in the world. Like Mike, like if you were to watch a singular player out of this entire group, I dare you to watch Pedri or whoever else is a casual. This is the guy you have to watch. He won the Golden Ball Award last year, which is basically the Rookie of the Year, but it's the best young player in the world, and it's just a bigger honor in general for that. And he's just making a big impact at Barcelona. Germany, I think, as a unit, as a team, they have everything that they need to win this tournament. Are they able to get over their humps that they've had and issues that they've had? Inconsistencies from certain players that are super talented, like Leroy Sané, Kai Havertz, who plays at Chelsea. I do think that they're able to get out of it. They're not going to have Toni Kroos, by the way, who's obviously a big deal, one of the best midfielders ever. I do have them. Costa Rica, really don't like them that much at all this tournament. I think they just snuck in because CONCACAF it's CONCACAF. I think at Japan third, maybe sneaking in second if Spain slips up. They have some goal scoring issues as well. So, yeah.
All right, Group F now. We got this is, I think, feel like a weird one here because you got Belgium as the top European side in this group. You got Canada, who made the World Cup the first time since '86, so they had a really big run through CONCACAF. Morocco and Croatia. What do you think about Group F?
I think that it's so fascinating. This is low key the group of death. It's not the group of death. I think this is the low key strongest group outside of who I think group of death is. Belgium. They're always the side that is eerily similar to the Clippers. Everyone talks about this is their time. We have all this talent. We're able to push. This is finally going to be our time. Belgium always talks up their golden generation, Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne. They never won anything. They never made it to a final. They get deep. They show some quality, but they always lose. Similar to the Clippers, never been to an NBA Finals, always falling up short, even if they have all the talent to win it all. I'm always off on them. And again, Croatia made it to the World Cup final. They have one of the greatest midfielders of all time in Modric. They still have quality. I think they're improved. They can make a push. I think they're at risk to fall out of this. And Canada, the best Canada team that has ever existed, Jonathan David, Alphonso Davies. Oh my God. Their two best players are better than Team USA's players. Straight up. And as a team, talent wise, you could argue between the two. Tejan Buchanan, another player for Canada. Canada really has a chance to get out and finish second, and really not that far fetched. Given the injuries with Belgium, with Lukaku and Hazard, not far fetched. If you're better, that they could win the group. That it's not the most absurd thing. I'm telling you, that's a sneaky future play if you really wanted to look at something.
Yeah, and I know we talked before about 2026 being obviously the U.S. hosting the World Cup, but Canada's in there too with Mexico, so this is going to be a good launching pad for them.
Oh, absolutely. For I think Canada and U.S., Mexico, I think they have a lot of stuff to figure out, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let's get to Group G. Excuse me. Here, the next one here: Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon.
Okay, can I just say my group of death now because this is. I mean, there was only like two options, but this is it. Brazil, the favorite besides Argentina to win this tournament, in my opinion, and also the bookies agree with it. They are the betting favorite. I forget when the last time the betting favorite won it. It could have been Brazil in '94. Don't remember. But we haven't seen one. Italy was not the favorite. Spain, I think, was the favorite in 2010. Now that I think about it, but again, I was like 15. I was not betting yet. So FBI, if you're listening. Again, Serbia, unbelievable talent. They topped Portugal's group in the World Cup qualifying. That's why Portugal had to go to the knockout stages for the playoffs. Switzerland obviously knocked out France. Unbelievable. What could you say about them? They always do well. Cameroon, one of the better African sides, obviously. Again, they're young, they're talented. It's really just something that they have the quality within their squad to beat any of these teams on any day of the week. That's what makes it so dangerous. That's why it's the group of death. For me, Brazil wins the group. They're so good. Having Neymar not be outside as a winger and he just focuses on creating offensively is so dangerous. And it's why they could win their sixth World Cup We'll see what happens with them, but they're absolutely unbelievable. Serbia, Dusan Vlahovic, Sergej Milinkovic, Savic. I think they have all the quality that put it this way, they're everybody's favorite dark horse, Serbia, that I talk to, that people that bet on this tournament. So Serbia is the dark horse. I definitely think they can place second. I think they will. As far as winning, the only chance they have of that is if they beat Brazil. That's the only chance.
Yeah.
So
it's also ironic because I was looking up doing some research while you were into this group here that people forget about this, that Brazil, Serbia, and Switzerland were also all in the same group with the last World Cup too, when Brazil and Switzerland got out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty insane, right? Like that's why it's the craziest tournament in the world. Now I'm getting hyped up. I wasn't that hyped up at the beginning of the pod, like I was saying, because we're still 19 days out. But now you got me hyped up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Our last group here, Group H: Portugal, American nemesis Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. What do you think about this group?
Bizarre. This is like if Area 51 was a group. So weird. It's honestly it's so weird. Portugal, on paper, has all the talent in the world to win this tournament, and I don't know if they're even gonna if you told me Portugal didn't make it out of the group, I'd be like, not surprised, because they have the most stubborn manager in the entire tournament. Cristiano Ronaldo is in his lowest moment right now as a professional. I've never seen anything like this because he is the greatest. He's not the greatest. I will say he is the most famous athlete that has ever existed. And there's a lot of responsibility and pressure with that, on top of him being one of the greatest players and athletes of all time. It's his lowest moment. Does he show up? I am willing to bet that he does. Regardless if they play well or not, I think Cristiano Ronaldo is going to have a good World Cup, because I don't believe in betting against players like that in the biggest moments on the biggest stage. I can't do it. And Rafael Leao plays for them. He plays for my team, so he's amazing. So that's why. But seriously, it depends if Fernando Santos wants to stop effing around and be serious and play his best players possible. So yeah, that's what that comes down to. Ghana, again, coming in the knockout stages of the playoff rounds, out of AFCON. They have the ability to advance out of this group. Uruguay, listen, Cavani, Suarez, they're on the back end of their career. They're one of the greatest duos that I could ever remember as a striker partnership, one of the great all-time striking partnerships those two have internationally. Do they have enough left in the tank? There's some still pretty good players that play for Uruguay. I think they advance out of this. They're probably going to be second. South Korea, we'll see the injury. This is what I was talking about with Son in the Champions League. I haven't gotten any updates on it yet, so whatever. Sue me if I got this wrong. But if Son's not going to be there now, there could be that potential of him not in the group stage. This is one of those players. That's one of those impacts. They don't get out of the group if they don't have Son. If Son is hurt and he's out, Korea's done. I would be stunned. I would be floored. That would be the biggest upset out of any team advancing to the knockout stages, is South Korea without Son. So there you have that.
Yeah, I was looking up also. I went on DraftKings, look at some of the group betting odds here. And I know your sleeper bet of Canada getting out of Group F. They are plus 1,000 on DraftKings, not even Morocco. So that would be a hell of a value play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all about value. I'm all about betting value. That's why that you and I always talk about that. That's how I bet futures. I think like decent plus money values, like just something that's not out of this world, but the odds are decent. That's just the way I look at it. I'm a simpleton. I do it black and white, and it benefits you in the long run because it's so easy to overthink this shit.
Oh, no doubt about it here. And obviously, you're for a lot of American fans who are going to be just tuning into this because they don't watch international soccer here apart from the World Cup, and then just come in for every 4 years and disappear again. Like, who are some players that should be keeping an eye on?
Well, just Team USA players or
overall, like who are the
overall?
Yeah.
Overall, I would say Gio Reyna for sure for Team USA. So just like the American players, Gio Reyna and Yunus Musa. Midfielder, and Gio Reyna is an attacking midfielder, similar to what Messi plays. Obviously, Messi and Ronaldo, that goes without saying. Neymar is one of them. But some of the newer, younger generation, if you don't know some of these guys, which is it's so crazy to me, like saying it out. Like I don't talk to people who don't know these guys, to be honest with you. But Vinicius Jr., he's one of the best young players in the world in general. If you don't know who he is, he plays for Real Madrid. He scored the game-winning goal in the Champions League final this past May. And then again, on top of it, he starts for Brazil. He's like the next Neymar of the generation for Brazil. He's absolutely unbelievable. I would definitely 100% watch Rafael Leao. He's also another winger. He plays for Portugal. I think he's going to be helping them a lot in terms of creation in this tournament. Man, Pedri, another one, like I was mentioning to you, I already boasted about him, so I'll just re-mention him again. William Saliba, he's a defensive center back for France. If he gets the start, look out for that dude. He's unbelievable. And then I don't know, Senegal, I will say this. I love Koulibaly, center back for Chelsea. I think he deserves a ton of respect. I don't think he gets that much because of where he played in his club career and where he plays internationally, but they won the AFCON. Kalidou Koulibaly is one of the best defenders of the past 15 years. And I think if you wanted to eye watch and watch a player, that's someone that you should 100% look at. Like that's a guy that you just have to tip your cap to and respect. So those are pretty much all the players I would say that I love, and then probably Dusan Vlahovic again. Sorry for Serbia. Just a super talent of a striker caught with one of the worst possible teams as a fit. It's really kind of like seeing Andrew Luck with the Colts, like when they were doing him no favors, and it's like it's not his fault. Everyone knows how good he is. So yeah, those are all those players.
Yeah, right now I'm also, we're going to obviously get a prediction here, see who's talking about winning this thing here. Look at the odds on DraftKings right now as of record date, which is November 1st here. So Brazil's obviously mentioned the favorite plus 400, Argentina plus 550, France defending champ plus 650, England plus 800, Spain plus 850, your top 5 sides here. Anybody else you're curious what the number for right now?
I'm not heavy on anyone. I'm keeping it in that, 700 to even up to 1700 range. I know that sounds like audacious, but Portugal with plus 1700, just if they get it right. If they get it right, man, they could win it. And plus 1700, no one saw them winning what happened in 2016. It's not insane. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put my money there. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I've been saying Argentina. That these are my guys. I'm rolling with them. I'm not switching up last second. So what happened to me these past couple betting tournaments? I said for years France was going to win in 2018. Right before the tournament happened, when I talked to you, I switched up to Brazil. I got burned for it. I'm an idiot. But then I stuck with my guns in 2020 with Italy. I said they were going to win for a while. Italy ended up winning it. So I'm sticking with my gut. I've said Argentina for a little while now, and a couple of years at least, because of how they turned around that entire federation and how they, help Messi instead of hindering him. Argentina plus 700. That's it. That's it for me. But again, the two main favorites of Brazil and France. Like, I will not scoff at you. I will not attack you if you bet those teams. The first 3 teams with the 3 best odds, 100%. I think definitely one of those 3 win it. And if there's were to be a long odds, it would be Portugal for me.
Yeah, and obviously, Argentina would be obviously the South American team to win since Brazil in 2002 when they won the South Korea Japan World Cup. We've got Italy, Spain, Germany, France in the last 4 World Cups. So I might say we're overdue for a South American side to win this.
I mean, yeah, and you know what's crazy about the European thing too? In 2014, when that happened, there's been a lot of host in South America, quite a few. No European team ever won that. So the fact that Germany went down in there and they won 7-1 and won, and then they beat Argentina in the final, that's the European dominance. The Europe qualification round, just UEFA in general has lapped Common Bowl, which is the South American region. They lapped them. They're from top to bottom. They're just better. And it's literally just Argentina and Brazil representing from there that have a chance. And they are some of the most worthy people, but man, Brazil is just, they're insane. They're insane. I hate England 750, by the way. I hate that. Yeah. I hate that. It's not good. It's not good. Don't bet England, please. It would be a stunning revelation if England won. They're like They're so close to crashing and burning as a federation of football. It's absurd. Like it's every single time you watch them play, they get worse, and it's just not possible.
Yeah, I know they people are high on them because they made the semifinal of the last World Cup and ended up losing to
Mm-hmm.
Croatia on that one. So I think that's part
Mm-hmm.
of the bet here. And last thing I want to ask you, sort of just throw this out here. Is there a sort of a dark horse you see like maybe making a run to the semis, getting clipped at the end by a better team? So there's a dark horse you see making like a really deep run.
Yeah, it would be just Serbia or Denmark
Yeah.
for sure. I would probably lean Serbia though.
All right.
Denmark's got an older core.
All right, there you have it. Martino Puccio. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. If people want to follow on social media, keep up with your coverage throughout the World Cup, how can they do that?
Yeah, they could just follow me, Martino Puccio, and everything. And yeah, that's just Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. YouTube's been going pretty well, so it's a lot of fun stuff. So thanks for having me on again. Love talking sports in general. So yeah,
Absolutely, Martino. Thanks all the time. Really appreciate it.
no problem.